Hello, it's hard to believe we're already starting our fourth week of the course. I am starting this week a little sick, and so please pardon my voice during the screencast. But I wanted to take a look at what we're doing this week, and so we can officially move on to page 2 of our schedule. We're looking at the fourth week, this week of February 8th. And so this week, at the end of the week, your project charter is due. And your project manager is going to do a screencast and walk us through your project charter. And then that screencast can just be posted in our Google Plus community so that everyone can see it. The other things that we're going to get started on this week are things that most of you have already started on, but risk, change, and communication plans, and then the content analysis. And objectives and assessments, this isn't something we're going to learn. It's just a reminder. This is something that you guys learned in 7070 and 7080. Those of you with education backgrounds have learned it in many other classes. And then talking a little bit about some project management tools, which you guys are doing. You're posting that in the community anyway, under those resources. A lot of you have shared either project management tools that you use every day or others that you found by looking for them for this class. And so let's go ahead. So the things due this week are the project charter, and that project manager is going to give us an overview of that, and then the team and individual 15/5s. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look. And one thing that's kind of interesting, if you look at all of these tasks that we have to do, it seems like a lot. But after this week, we'll be halfway through, or a little over halfway through. So the first thing we're looking at is risk, change management, and the communication management plan. All right, so as far as the communication management plan, if your client has asked for updates, then you would put that on the plan. When does the client want them? Do they want to, hear from you guys weekly, monthly, just when there's a problem or an issue? Also on that communication management plan, if an issue arises, you need to document it and how it was handled or communicated. There was a change, someone is responsible for something that they weren't responsible for before, you document it there. And so if there's ever a question, you can go back and look at it. If you just make a change, something happens in the communication between you and the client, you've had a phone call or something and you want to document a decision that was made so that it's in writing, you could do that as well on the communication management plan. And so these are the people that need to be updated and how they're going to be updated. I'm updated weekly, right? I want to be updated weekly, and my method is the 15/5. Okay, so that's one example of something that would go on your communication plan. You communicate with the sponsor weekly using the 15/5 blog posts, both the team and individual. That's something that would go on there. Do you have weekly meetings with your team? The format might be a Google Hangout. That could be documented on your communication plan. Okay, so that's kind of how you do the communication. So the risk management and the change management are the more important things. And one thing is like risks, could we be hit by an asteroid and the project just ends? Yes. You don't need to mention those types of inevitable or things that would probably never happen, but inevitably would wipe out the project, those types of things. But think about what could happen within your group, within this project, that could really mess things up. Those are the types of things that you want to consider. And then move forward that way. So for example, if you're designing in using a certain tool and it's not SCORM compliant, and then it won't talk to their LMS. Well, that's a pretty big deal, right? So that could be a risk that you're developing in a tool that isn't compatible to the client's LMS. Hopefully that you've thought about those types of things, and or maybe the client has told you what to use to develop to avoid that kind of problem. So just think through those things, come up with that risk management plan, and then the change management plan, because sometimes things are going to have to be changed. And here's the time after the project charter has been written and the client wants a change. Here's the time where you have to actually look at it and make a determination of can the change be made or not. Okay, and so sometimes it can, and some with relative ease. Sometimes it has to change because of something, and other times it's just something that the client, a nice to have. Oh, can you add this on? Well, while we would love to, for the purposes of this project, we cannot. That could be something that you could contract with us or someone, later to add on. So think about all of those types of things. So here are the things that you're going to do. Explain the risk management plan, change management plan, communication management plan, and you're going to create those things. Calculate some risks and how you would mitigate those risks. Or, if these things happened, what would we do? What's kind of our action plan? Or who would be responsible for taking care of that? The chapters that are going to address this are chapters 3, 4, and 5, and 7 and 8 in your project management e-learning book, and then also the Alessi and Trollope Multimedia for Learning has some information that may help there. And then there's some additional activities there as you go through. Now this week I do not have an assigned discussion board. However, now you guys should be in the habit of using it, going to it, and so I can create a tag or a heading for risk change and communication management. And if you have questions, post them there, and so that other teams that are working through this too, the conversation can continue in Google Plus. But this week it's not a mandate. It's not something that I'm going to be going in and actually, I'm going to be reviewing and checking and seeing and contributing, but it's not something I'm going to be assigning like a point value to if you do or do not have a question about this. Okay, so that's kind of what you're going to be doing with risk, change management, and communication management plan. The other thing you guys have is the content analysis, and this is really, really fun because this is where you actually start building the content of your modules or of your course. And so it's the Dick and Carey. This is the instructional design side, chapters 4, 6, and 7 in Dick and Carey. And there's a little slideshow here for you guys to go through. So you read chapters 4, 6, and 7 first, kind of look at this overview, and then you're going to start working on your curriculum map. And so that's really exciting. What are the main goals? What has to happen to reach those goals? And writing the assessment items. How am I going to know when the learner has reached those goals? So you've got your goals, the different things the learner is going to be able to do during the module in order to reach the goal, and then an assessment item to match that, to demonstrate that they have learned it. And so that's what you guys are going to be working on, starting to work on this week, which is really exciting. And this is all things that you did in 70/70 and 70/80. And so you can pull out notes from that as well. But and so this should look very familiar to you because you created these then in that class. And then any prerequisite knowledge and skills that you're assuming that they come in with, remember to always list those as well. And the only other task module that you guys have here, this objectives and assessment review, this isn't something that you have to go out and read or do. It's just a very brief little slideshow to remind you of how to write an objective or an appropriate assessment question. It's just a little add-on reminder for you guys. And so let's look one more time back at the schedule this week. So you're doing the risk, change, and communication management plans, starting to write those up. Also the content analysis, where you actually start creating that content, putting it in order, making sure that your content directly relates to the objectives and to the learning goals, and then remember how to write your objectives correctly and your assessment items correctly. So the project charter is due. And looking ahead, next week, that analysis report that you guys are working on now are due. Next week, we're also going to review our team members and do that learning team survey again next week. And then following that, you'll see that your project plan is due. And then it's after, we have another couple of weeks, and then it's actually after spring break that content analysis is due. But just like you learned with the project charter, just because you have an entire month to do that, that means it's going to take the entire month, right? That doesn't mean put it off until that week. Okay, so I hope this helps you as we're looking forward. We'll continue our conversations about this in the community. And you guys should probably all be, in pretty constant contact now with your client or subject matter expert as you start to do these things, as you start to look at the content, as you get that, you're going to have questions and things like that. If you have any other questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me or post them in the community.